Hello everyone, I'm here with a new tutorial. This time I will try to focus to give more tips and tricks on how I edit instead of making more of a walkthrough-ish video. I will talk about multiple things. In this video I will give tips and tricks about how I remove backgrounds and how I edit a picture to use as a background, how I do my face paints, and how I add effects. The first thing we're going to talk about is how to remove the background of a picture. Well, the first thing to do obviously is to duplicate your layer. After doing this, you will make a new layer. You put it between those the base layer and your duplicated layer, and you will fill this layer with a very bright color, a color that's very different from the color of your background. After doing this, you will go to your duplicated layer, and the way I do it is by using the magic wand tool. By using this tool, I will select the background color, and I will not do anything then. I will not click and delete. I will first go to refine edge. This is an option you will find under every selection tool. It will be under all your menu options. Once you click it, you will get a pop-up, and there are several options here. The option I always use is smooth. I will drop this. I will higher the smooth a bit, and just play around with the sliders until you're satisfied. You will not see a result until you remove the background. So I will just try things out by removing the background and going, and if I don't like it, I just hit Ctrl-Alt-Z and it will just go back with T. Okay, so once you do this and you think you're satisfied, you will notice that when you use the smooth tool, that the selection, the edge of your picture, the cutout picture, will be very smooth. It will not be pixelated the way it will be if you do not use the smooth tool or the refine edge tool. Another thing I always do is, if I still see white, for example, when your background is white obviously, I will go back. So I would just redo it. I will select it again, and I will then go to selection, and under selection I will click edit selection, and I will click enlarge or whatever it's called, and I will enlarge it with 3 pixels or something. Then I will go back to refine edge and click delete again, and I will try to do this until all white is gone. But of course you also have hair, and hair is a very annoying thing. It's very difficult to remove background behind hair. What I always do is I will just remove the hair strands that have white in them, and I will go to the smudge tool, which you will find at the left side or right side, whatever. I suppose you guys can find the smudge tool, and I will just draw hair strands that way before I go over it by drawing hair myself. This is a very easy way, and it will just make everything look more pleasant than just having erased head, which is very strange. Another thing you can do is another way to select and prevent the background from still being in hair is using color range, which you will also find under the selection menu. You can just select a color of your background, and you can play around until with the slider until you have selected most of the background. And sometimes, for example, when your background is white, you will also have white in your eyes. It will select that as well, but it's very easy to deselect that. Those are some simple ways to remove backgrounds. There are also different ways to make everything, to remove hair from, to remove the background from your hair, by using the background selection tool, for example. But as before, I have no idea how to use this tool, so I can't give any tips on that. But it is there, so you can ask other people for this or look it up online, because I think it will be more efficient than just using color range or using your magic wand tool. But I don't know, because I've never used it. Because I always redraw hair. So yeah, but that was the first thing, and I hope that how I remove background is now very clear, and I hope that was helpful. So now we'll go to the next section. The second tip I'm going to give is a very simple and easy one, because it just uses one filter, namely the field blur. A field blur is found under blur, which you can find under filter, and once you click it, a new menu will pop up. Here you will see a slider, which is just simply blur. Just slide this one until you like it, how blurred you want it. And the other one, which is very interesting, is called bokeh. Of course you cannot bokeh manually, but I really like this way to just give this lighting feel to your background. I always use the bokeh color slider. I try to do this one as high as possible, because otherwise you would just have white bokeh and it's very boring. You can also just play around with the other sliders that are here until you like the effect. And this is basically the only thing that I use to edit backgrounds, to use them. But of course you will encounter a problem, and it is your background will obviously be a different color than your sim. So what I do, I would just go to just edit the background a bit more in levels, or I will use a multiply layer or an overlay layer to change the colors a bit, to make it more interesting and to make my character fit in more. Afterwards I also use effects on my character to make the color similar to the background, and then it will look very real. Of course, I can look real because it's a game, but you know what I mean. This is the only thing that I do, except for sometimes drawing things myself, but there's not really a tutorial on that. So that's the only thing that I wanted to say about using backgrounds. So next up to the next tip. The third thing I want to talk about is face paints, and I think this is the most difficult section to talk about, because it's just me painting over my sim, so there's not that much to talk about. It really depends on how far you want to go, and it also depends on how bad your quality is. Okay, so I've broken down the face into things. You will see the blue, which are the highlights, and the red, which are the shadows. It speaks for itself. In the blue areas I place highlights, and in the red areas I place shadows. When I start doing a face paint, I'll make a new layer, obviously, and I turn off all the effects I placed already, because that way I can still change the effects without also having to change the face paint. The way I do my face paint is very simple. I just use I can't talk anymore. I just use the color picker, and I select the colors of the skin, and I just paint over it to make it more smooth. And sometimes I change the color to make it more bright or darker. Okay, so the first thing I do, I always start with the eyes. I just pick a very dark color, and most often it's just black, and I will make a shadow under his or her eyelid, and I will blur this then. That's why this is the first thing I do, because I will blur it. And this way the eye gets more depth and it's more interesting. And I remove the bits of the iris where the black is, so the iris really pops. I will just keep this then. I will just keep using the same layer for my entire face paint. I will use a more reddish color to draw an eye back on their eye. I will create highlights where the waterline is. Sometimes I will redraw the tear duct. I would create highlights on their irises. I will create highlights on my eyelids. Most of the time I also redraw eyelids, but for this edit I did, yeah, it was an Asian sim, so he didn't have a double eyelid, so I just drew a small one. But sometimes when I have a Western sim, or Caucasian sim, or African sim, I don't know, I will yeah, use more shadows in the eyelid area. Next up is the nose. What I always do is I use again a very dark color to redraw the nostrils, and then I will create a highlight, or I will just select the same color of the skin. But the nostril isn't just the neutral skin. God, bad. I've been talking so much I can't even talk anymore. And I will just go back in so that not the entire nostril is black. Okay. I will just redraw the nose. How are those called? Oh my god, I should really have looked up things before I made this recording. My English has died. But okay, just redraw the nose, and you can see in this video how I do that and what I do, and yeah, there's not much to say about it because yeah, every nose is different, so I can't really give any strict yeah, tips about it. I had highlights and a shadow under the nose tip, and for the lips there's more to talk about that because I have a very specific way of painting over the lips of my sims. What I do is I basically create a shadow yeah, at the mouth gap, and I draw mouth corners, and then I select this and I blur it a bit so that it's more blurred and more soft and not as dark, and then I will create highlights under the mouth corners and stuff, and yeah, everything really speaks for itself for the face paint. There ain't really specific ways to talk about. One thing I can say is it's really handy if you have knowledge about how to paint skin and stuff, if you really want to go into detail. One of my favorite artists, Astri Lohne, she has a very detailed tutorial on how to paint skin, and she gives so much tips and tricks that I really think that you guys will like it. You can just skim through the video. I will link it down below, so if you really want to go into more depth about this subject, yeah, I really recommend to at least watch a tutorial about how your skin works, like where to use cool tones, where to use warm tones. Another thing I have included in this edit, which is not really an entire section on its own, it's how to redraw clothes. I don't do this all the time because I'm very lazy, so yeah, I searched for something I could redraw. I could use this method in the screenshot, and he happened to have these stripes on his jersey, and basically what I do, I went back to the cutout sim, and I selected the lines, and then I selected the black or the red color, and I filled it in. And this way it will create a very crisp line, and it will not be washed out and pixelated. The texture of the stripes, and you can really read it well, and it also works for tattoos and face tattoos and whatever, or eyeliner. You can redraw I don't know, any symbols on clothes or colors, especially colors. Yes, that's you know, when your sim is wearing a shirt with a low color, you will often see these. Yeah, it will not be a nice line. The textures will fade into each other, and it's very ugly. And most of the time I do redraw this because it makes everything look more high quality. That's it for this subject about redrawing things. Of course, you can I also redraw hair, but the way I do that I've talked about in my previous video, so there's not much to say. And I hope that this was helpful as well, because I think it's very difficult to talk about this particular thing, and I do know that people want to know it, so I just try to explain what I do. And I think I will just yeah, maybe upload a new video, and it will just be the face paint of this edit in real time, so you can really see what I'm doing, and I hope that that will help you even more. Okay, so now up to the last thing I want to talk about. Okay, so we're now at the last section of tips and tricks, and this one will be about effects. I don't use any particular actions on my edits. I do everything manually for every edit I make, and there are some effects I use most often, which are Gaussian blur and smart sharpen. I use those once I've finished my entire edit. I just merge our layers and I duplicate it, and then I use Gaussian blur and I remove the Gaussian blur from his face. And sometimes I use more blur, sometimes I use less, and I really like to use Gaussian blur to create depth, but I also really like it to create this mystical feeling to my pieces, because most of the time I do have more fantasy-like edits, so it really suits and fits those type of edits. And once I'm content with the blur, I merge it with my normal layer, and then I duplicate it again, and I go to sharpen, smart sharpen, and I just play around until I'm satisfied. And I never really over sharpen my pieces. I don't like it when my lines get pixelated. I always like to keep them soft. I just use it to make my highlights pop more and have small hair strands be more visible. And most of the time I even erase the sharpen from the face, because it can make eyes and stuff look kind of harsh. And I always remove the sharpen from the edges. Yeah, those are the effects I use most. Lately I've also been using grain or noise it's called, and I do this to create this all picture effect. It just really gives this atmosphere, and I used it in this edit and also in my last edit, which is the one with this skyscraper. Other effects I use mostly to complement pictures into my drawing edit. In this one I did not use any pictures except for the background, so I can't show it, but I think I will make a new video, or not a new video, I will record something and I will just place it under my voice, so I can do that now. What I do is when I use a different picture, and most of the time I use the watercolor filter, which you can find in the filter gallery, and it just makes it look more cartoony, and it really goes well with The Sims. Another thing I use is the smart blur, and it really gives this Barbie effect. So when you use, for example, animals into your real animals into your edits, you can use the smart blur to make them look more fake, so that it isn't hyper realistic and a video game character, because that's just very strange. Yeah, those are all the effects I use. Most of the time I do use color dodge and color dodge add, because it gives nice lighting effects, and I also use bleach once in a while. And yeah, just make sure you use adjustment layers to alter your lighting and stuff, and like levels and curves and color balance. I sound like my arms, and that's just all. Yeah, there's not really there ain't really specific effects I use, but I just wanted to touch this subject a bit. So that's it for this tutorial. I really hope that this one is more clear than the walkthrough I uploaded last time. Yeah, I hope that you now know how I edit. And if there are any other specific things you want to know, or you don't know how to do, or you just want to know how I do something, just let me know and I can maybe make a new tutorial on that subject. Yeah, I hope that you guys maybe try to implement these things into your edits. Just mess around a bit. Most of the things I do, I just start with testing out and trying out stuff that I like and that other people do, and I'm like, oh, maybe I can do this as well, and then it just goes very differently from what I had imagined, but I will still like it. And yeah, a new way of editing is born, and yeah, just experiment, that's all I can say, and try to find your own way to edit. And good luck, everyone. And yeah, I really hope this was helpful. I've said it multiple times right now, but yeah, I'm making this tutorial to help people, and if I'm not helpful at all and I just only talk an awful lot, and that's not good. So yeah, good luck, everyone. Goodbye, I guess.